right. Look, we'll get started. I'll do my little spiel. A few people will join while I'm doing that, I'm sure. I'm pretty excited for this one. It's a new feature that we're adding into ShiftCare, which is to get us into the aged care sector, which I know a lot of our current NDIS providers either are looking at it or currently already do it. And will be a space for growth in the future as well. So yeah, chuck us through to the next slide, Abner, which I think is for me to introduce Abner. So Abner is one of our product managers and owners here at ShiftCare. So he manages a bunch of the projects that we're working on, and this is a massive one that he's undertaken. So he's jumped straight into the deep end on that. And of course, you guys know me, this is my new title now, operations manager and customer experience manager, doing a couple of things now. So yeah, chuck us through to the next slide, Abner.
Cool. Thanks, Paul. Very excited to present to you the work that we'll be doing for support at home, be running through the changes, just a high-level overview of the changes that are happening when we transition over from HCP to support at home, things that we should be aware of when we come into support at home, the outline of the key functional areas that we'll be supporting from a shift care perspective with the new program. I'll be running through a bit of a demo on both an existing HCP support that we are testing on, as well as a sneak peek on the support at home functionality that we've been working on concurrently as well. Then nearer towards the end, we've got 15 minutes for a Q&A. All right, so with support at home, let's have a bit of a recap on these new concepts that are coming in. So I've highlighted here some 6 key ones, and if we start off with quarterly budgets, we know, okay, it's not monthly anymore. It's going to be split out into quarterly basis, and then there's 8 levels of funding, and that is just for a standard new client. And then if you have transitional or grandfathered clients who come in because they've been under the existing HCP program, then they have their own specific levels of funding that has to be tracked as well. With the support at home, we have ATHM, or Assistive Technology and Home Modification Funding schemes, and that's accesses bulk upfront funding because the quarterly budgets, that's more aimed now for your standard sort of services that you run regularly with your client. And then there's additional pathways, restorative care and end of life, that does provide additional funding supports for those specific requirements. We know that with support at home, there's co-contributions expected for participants, so there's more expectation around collecting out-of-pocket costs directly from participants. Key thing to highlight here is that out of the service categories under support at home, we have clinical independence and everyday living. With independence and everyday living, they have co-contributions. Any clinical services don't have any. With claims, you can claim up to daily now, but you have to support each of these claims with transactional line items. So it's not just a simple summary of your account. You have to detail out each line item. Care management. Oh, this is a big one here. We don't have any income tested fees anymore. We don't have any package management fees or basic daily fees. So those two fees there that providers have been relying on as a consistent source of revenue, that's all removed, and that's replaced by a 10% care management pool that you claim against. Then with service lists, we've got defined service lists. So the government provides a whole list of defined service categories and types. And then for this coming period from July 25 up to July 26, can have a bit of leeway in terms of how much you want to charge for your services. Then after July 2026, we have capped pricing coming in, which is going to be, I'm sure, will be a challenge for providers to work with. So in light of that, now that we're moving into support at home, you can see that there's going to be some big changes that are happening in the current sort of context. So rather than having sort of broad pricing structures, It's now very sort of transparent, very defined. People can see clearly how much you'll be charging for services. As mentioned before, we're moving from this recurring revenue streams, the basic daily fees and package management fees, and now it's all going to be arrears-based transactional revenue, charging against accounts, having to record the services that you provided and then claiming it back from the government. With HCP, you had fully funded service provision, so sometimes certain services didn't require any out-of-pocket costs. In support at home, expectation is every single service that the uh, client or participant uses, with the exception of clinical services, they will have out-of-pocket costs that they'll need to pay for that one. I think with HCP, there was this notion that you could accumulate funds. If you didn't use it, that's okay. Just roll it over into the next month and then so forth and so forth. And then if you wanted to save up those funds to use for things such as wheelchairs or modifying your house for accessibility, then that was okay. It was up to you how you controlled and used those funds. But then in support at home, it's very now regulated, controlled, and it's definitely now moving into a use it or lose it philosophy, which is going to be different from HCP. Then with HCP, monthly claims management, just fire off a claim with how much you're going to use or claim back. And now with support at home, you have to provide the evidence and provide the detailed sort of transactions to support the claims that you're making. So if we look into some compliance aspects and what probably would need to consider when looking at systems to sort of handle or manage support at home, one thing to keep in mind is around price lists and being able to publish price lists, because with support at home, they do have to be available to the public, and that includes putting it on your own website and the MyHCare portal. New service agreement. So if you have existing HCP clients, either if they're grandfathered or transitional, they do need to be consulted with and then supplied with the proposed service lists under support at home, and being able to consult with and discuss with them whether do they agree with those prices. And then if they do agree with those prices and that new sort of care agreement or service agreement, then that agreement needs to be captured in the system. Also, with existing HCP clients, when they move over into support at home from July 1 this year, they do have two classifications to be conscious of, which is the grandfather clients. So anyone that is an existing HCP client for 12th September 2024, and then transitional clients, which is people that have been made eligible for an HCP package subsidy, haven't still awaiting the full package, but they've entered into that agreement between 12th of September last year right up until 30th of June this year. So in both of those classifications, both of those types of clients, they'll have different funding levels and subsidy levels and contribution rates that as providers they do need to be aware of and track, in addition to new clients that are coming on board that have the standard 8 levels of funding classifications and contribution rates as well. Then when we move into participant budgets, again, there's a 10%, maximum 10% rollover of a quarterly budget, of a participant's quarterly budget, or $1,000, whichever is greater. So the person's budget can't be more than $1,000 or 10% of their budget each quarter. So that's something to be aware of. Interim funding. So if you have new clients that coming on board for support at home and they haven't been approved for their full funding yet, they can access 60% of their proposed quarterly budget immediately. With contribution caps, you do need to track how much co-contributions are being made by participants, and there's a cap of $130,000 for that one. If you have existing HCP clients and they likely would have unspent funds, what happens is that under support at home, they can be accessed if, say, for example, their standard quarterly budget has been exceeded for the quarter, or if you want to use the AT or HM schemes in order to, say, purchase wheelchairs or fund home modifications, then the unspent HCP funds has to be used first before you tap into any of the AT or HM funding schemes. With claiming, when we submit claims to Services Australia, for example, if you do the bulk claim file, they do have to outline the hours or units of that particular service or product type charged, and also what the price is for that one. Registration and approval, so you can only, again, claim for things that you're registered to deliver. They have to align to the service list and they have to match to the participant's notice of decision. And then on top of that, any documentation, so any invoices from allied health providers and so forth, they do need to be included or been able to be surfaced during audits. Care management. So with the care management side of things, there's a pooled funding concept. And so 10% of your participants' budget, they're all grouped together, but it's based on service branches. So if you have service branches, so if you have two sets of clients, maybe you service clients in New South Wales and also South Australia. If you've exhausted the pool of funds for care management across your South Australian clients, and you still need more to service a South Australian client, you can't access the pool of funds that are allocated to your New South Wales clients. So that's an aspect to be aware of. Billable hours. So the government has listed these are the things that you can claim for if in regards to care management. And one thing to note is that things such as rostering or scheduling don't count as a billable activity. And billable hours, they do need to be tracked. So if you're going to claim for a billable activity, they do need to be tracked and recorded somehow in a system. On top of that, there is a minimum requirement. So if to be able to track and record those billable hours, that's important because there is a minimum requirement of 1 hour per each client to provide them with a billable care management activity each month. Okay, so in terms of where we are with support at home, we're building that into ShiftCare. We're testing on HCP. So a lot of the concepts with support at home, the underlying sort of mechanisms to support the support at home in our system, we're testing it right now on the existing HCP model. So we're figuring out, okay, what's going to work from a workflow experience? Are there things to be wary of? Are there things to be modified or needing to be changed when we take into account the requirements for support at home? With this support at home functionality, we're planning to do a first release on that. So there's initial function or initial batch of features relating to support at home that we want to release 1st of May. And those are principally aimed for providers to help them bring on board their clients into the support at home program and transition them from HCP to support at home. What we're targeting is core flows, so things relating to fund tracking, invoicing, and claiming, and preparing those monthly statements that are mandatory to provide to clients. And ShiftCare does have full team across product design, myself. We have more than 40 engineers, and we also have data sales and support teams as well to work on support at home. So that's going to be a really big and exciting phase for us to jump into. From an indicative roadmap perspective, so as mentioned before, we do want to release a first batch of support at home functionality before June of this year, and that's focused around setting up clients, publishing your price lists, getting that available out to the public, as well as being able to help support the client agreements that providers need to arrange with existing HCP clients. Then from June to the 1st of July, launch of Support at Home. During that period of time there, that's when the remaining functionality will come on board for the Support at Home, which is around how do we claim, preparing the invoicing for co-contributions, creating a monthly statement that takes into account all the Support at Home changes. So when we are diving into Support at Home, what we're really focusing on first is around the core flows. So price lists, how do we account for care management, documenting care management hours, billable hours, configuring your clients for Support at Home, recording those shifts and charging those shifts to specific Support at Home accounts, being able to add transactions. So if you are coming in or bringing in third-party providers to provide services on behalf of you as a provider, then how do we sort of account for that within the system, and being able to also attach any relevant invoices in relation to that. Then allocating funds. So how do we split or account for a person's Support at Home account being distributed across their Support at Home account, their ATHM accounts, any sort of additional pathways that they may be eligible for, and also their unspent HCP funds account. Claiming, being able to support claiming under the Support at Home structure, which now requires more detail at a transactional line item for each client. So we've been focusing on that one. With invoicing, how do we account for co-contributions? That's really important. And so we've been spending a lot of time working that out and how to handle that within the platform. And then statement generation, we know that preparing monthly statements for clients, which is mandatory, it's a big pain point, a lot of work, and we've put in a lot of effort to streamline and automate that process. So what we did to start off initially is with the core workflows that we wanted to introduce for Support at Home, given that at the time and still right now, a lot of these sort of requirements are a bit flexible, still things to be defined by the government. So in order to test these workflows, we thought we'd start with HCP, see what are the sort of things that we just have to be conscious of and be aware of, spin out an experience and see how that's going to translate and work in the Support at Home environment. And then so based on that, we are actually going to release this testing beta that's running on the HCP program to a select group of customers, and they'll be able to inform us of any sort of issues or highlights or pain points that they're having with the experience that we can then translate over into the Support at Home program. So when we touched on the HCP functionality to think about how this could apply in the Support at Home program, we're focusing around onboarding. How do we sort of streamline the onboarding? Setting and tracking subsidies, pricing fees for clients. So how do you make that easy? Being able to document and invoice all those transactions that you want to record against a particular client's account. Submitting the claim file, being able to create a CSV file, bulk upload that to Services Australia, and then creating the monthly activity statements, which is mandatory in HCP, mandatory in Support at Home. So what I'll do, I'm going to actually jump into the testing beta that we've done for HCP so that you can see how this sort of workflow can translate, or the experience can translate into the Support at Home environment.
How good. While you're getting ready to do that, I'm just going to launch a quick poll. I was really keen to see how many people are interested in doing Support at Home. So if you could answer that poll, that'd be really helpful. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so I'm going to select Charlie's. And so Charlie's is set up as client or participant within the ShiftCare system. So I'm going to turn this person on as an HCP client. Then under Support Home, this toggle here will be replaced with the support home toggle. Now we want to send out the monthly statements automatically to Charlize, and we want to send them to both Charlize herself and also any of her primary contacts. Just press update. Now that I've updated the toggle, that means that this new tab will appear here, Home Care Packages. So under Support Home, when we roll it into that one, then Support Home tab will appear. So if I click on this, then what we'll need to do is just enter recipient ID, pick a service date, pick an end date. Then I'll select the level, so similar to what's going to happen in Support Home. Support Home, there's going to be 8 levels here to pick from instead of the 4 under HCP. Then for supplements, just turn on any sort of relevant supplements that's already accounted for within the system. Home care account balance, if there's any sort of prior home care account balances, or in the case of Support Home, if there's any sort of unspent HCP funds, we'll have an input box here to accommodate that. So I'm just going to save that. Okay, now let's go and create a shift and charge that to the person's HCP account. So then what I'll do is I'm going to jump into the calendar. Okay, let's pick a service, let's say yesterday. And then what will happen is that under the Support Home functionality that we've created, so you can have your price book set up for your Support Home services that you have, and then select the fund. So under Support Home, this will be replaced by all the Support Home accounts, including unspent HCP funds, ATHM, funding schemes, and the restorative care and the end-of-life pathways. They'll all be in this drop-down box here. Okay, I'm just going to select the A. So I'm just going to choose the carer, self, okay, and then we'll publish that one. Okay, so a new screen that we'll introduce is this funds and accounts screen. So this will apply into the Support Home functionality that we're developing too. Then you can see here, we've started off with projected balance. So projected balance looks into what are the sort of expected funding amounts that we're going to receive or could claim for at the person's end of quarter. Okay, so Support Home here in HCP end of month. And so we've taken that into account here. You can see at the bottom all the recent transactions that have occurred for that particular client or participant. Then if I jump into accounts, you can see here, this is how much we've incurred for services for this particular client or Charlize, which is $73. And then all the accounts of Charlize, they'll be here as well. So in the case of Support Home, you'll see across here in a rolling carousel, the ATHM funds that are available, any unspent HCP funds, and the additional pathways. We can add transactions, so we just hit that button here, and so I'm just going to pick date. So let's say yesterday, and I'm going to put an amount of 200. Okay. Packages, wheelchair. Okay, so these are two things that I'm going to claim for, which is the shift and also for the wheelchair. And then under Support at Home, what will happen is that this would be the AT or the AT scheme that you'd be claiming against. Okay, and then so let's say it's now the end of the month or end of the period where you would like to claim. And so now what will happen is that under the invoices tab, there'll be a tab here for support at home claims. So I just click here for now, speed claims. And so now I want to create the bulk upload file that I'm going to submit into Services Australia. So what I'll do is just go for April, download CSV and lock the period. So if I open this one up, you can see here the accounts for all the clients that you've had for the particular claim period, which is April. You can see Charlie's here, $273. So that's made up of the shift and then also with the wheelchair that we've purchased with the HCP funds. And then under support home, this CSV, this will be more detailed and will include columns for each transactional line item, pricing, the units and quantities served for that particular service line item. Then what will happen is that once you have this CSV, we can then go into Services Australia and then do the bulk upload functionality there to claim against all your particular clients for that claim period. Okay. Then once I'm sort of satisfied with that one, with the amounts I'm going to claim for, then what we'll do is we'll just update the accounts and generate the statements. Okay, so now that's all been done, that's all claimed, and then statements have been pushed out to all your participants and clients. So now if we jump back to Charlie's, in the funds and accounts screen, you'll see here a statements tab. Then if we open up the statements tab, this was automatically generated when we press that button in that final claim stage, and it outlines for Charlize all the activities that have happened per account and what's been charged to her account and what are the sort of remaining funds for the next claim period. And so that same principles here will then translate over into support home with similar types of mechanisms and statement formats and so forth. Yeah, so when we're moving into support at home, we are taking into account that, okay, we do need to prepare and publish price lists. We need to track billable and non-billable hours, so that's new. And then top of that, we do need to invoice or modify the invoicing for co-contributions. So now I'm going to jump through into a prototype that we've done for support at home to demonstrate the functionality that we are creating and developing for the new program coming on board. So we start from here. We start with the price books. We know that we need to publish pricing for transparency and for the government requirements coming on board. And just add price book. And then we can see here with the price books, we've already pre-configured the service categories. And this is where you can also create your care management, creating your care management activities for documentation purposes, export these prices. So once you've got your price books in there, you can then export your prices as a CSV file. That CSV file you can then manipulate to then publish onto your My Aged Care profile portal and on your own websites. Okay, so we understand that for providers, they're transitioning from other systems who may want to consider using ShiftCare. They're going to have a number of clients that they're going to move over across into ShiftCare. So we've taken that into account and we've modified the bulk upload functionality to take that into account. So if we import a client, and then here we add in the CSV file. And then in that CSV file, what will happen is that we've taken into account all the relevant columns that you need for that particular person to be configured or set up in Support Home. So that includes any outstanding, any HCP unspent funds. Take that into account. Their level or classification that can be included in the CSV, and that just all gets uploaded into the ShiftCare system. Okay, so we have Amanda Hodgkins, and then we've set her up in Support Home. See here, we've toggled on Support Home for Amanda, and she's going to be receiving monthly statements. Under Support at Home tab that we've selected, we've made a mention that, okay, so she's going to be based in South Australia. She is a grandfathered HCP client, and that means that if you're a grandfathered HCP client, there's different classifications that apply to her. So we've included that with these sort of transitional levels here. As per the HCP demonstration I showed before, setting out the service agreement details, various sort of supplements and pathways and so forth, simple toggles, all the relevant ones that you need, just toggle them on or off. Then for accounts, either the unspent funds accounts, also unspent funds amount that gets pulled through from the CSV file imported, or you can enter it in here by pressing this button here. Contribution rates, they're also supported here in the screen. And you can see we've got categories for independence and everyday living, which matches with the government requirements. What happens is that you import your percentages here, the relevant percentages for that particular client. And then when you do invoice the client or you schedule the services for that particular client, the relevant co-contribution amounts for that client are already taken into account. And then so when you open up the invoice, which we'll show you later, you can see the exact contribution rate or the correct contribution rate for that client is already taken into account. The other functionality that's attached to contribution rates is around pricing. So care plan activities. What happens with care plan activities is that you can add services from your price books. Then with your price books, when you have your prices already included in there, those prices take into account the contribution rates. So the prototype with the care plan activities, you can see here how we've got lists of all the services that you just add through this button here. And then that already takes into account any contribution rates that have been inputted in this box here. These can be exported out. And then so when you export out these prices, then that can be included in the service agreements or both service agreements that you can provide or need to provide to the existing clients that you have. Okay, so let's schedule a shift. Okay, so here we can see a care management activity has been provided for Amanda, and that's how we account for care management activities. We jump into the scheduler, pick through the price book, and then log that activity against the client. And for a different, sorry, for a normal service or shift, you can see here we've got that here. If I just save that one, that now charges all those sort of services to Amanda's support home account. Okay, and then from here, we've got the projected balance. So we've got all those sort of services we charged to Amanda. They'll all appear here. We've modified the screen to take into account the changes required for support at home. So this is adding a transaction, and then we can add attachments here for invoicing or the suppliers invoice and so forth. Okay, so if I go here into support at home claims, we have modified the claim screen to take into account the care management balances. So you can see here the care management, the pooled care management accounts for yourself as a provider. If I click here, I can then see all the care management activities that have been charged or that I want to charge for Services Australia. And this is where I can also download those activities as well. I'm also be able to see what are the sort of specific activities that care management activities have been charged to clients so that you're able to monitor if you've been providing the minimum standard of 1 hour per each client per month. Similar as before, just lock the period, and then you download the CSV file that you then upload to Services Australia. Claim period, we've put in a little bit of friction here to just double confirm that this is the claim period that you want to submit for. Under invoicing, now that we've clicked on the claims tab and we've pushed out the statements, then here we go and back into the funds and accounts, so the invoicing. Sorry, it looks like there's an issue with the prototype. I can't click through back into the invoicing that I was going to demonstrate for showing the co-contributions amount. But what we've done is that for the invoicing, you can then go through and see all the line items and then all the co-contribution amounts for that particular invoice. Okay, so in terms of a transition for support, so for May, we want to push out things relating to pricing and client configuration settings so that you're able to define prices, publish that, then map your current services to the support home environment. And that will also help you to support obtaining existing pricing agreements that you need to obtain with your existing participants. Also being able to set up your budget allocations and schedule services. So being able to go through and set up all the proposed or expected services that you want to offer your clients and participants past July 1 and be able to set that up in the system. Then in July, what will happen is that we suggest that you make your final HCP claim in your systems in July, and then bulk upload the final unspent HCP balances with the CSV file that we'll provide. And then from there, that can be pushed into the system. And then the first support home claim, once you've got all those details in, then the first support home claim can be made in ShiftCare. We've modified the bulk uploading file functionality to accommodate the support at home changes. In terms of where we go after July 1, so we've touched on the core flows. Now, after July 1, once we've got the core flows embedded, we'll start to look at all the peripheral functionality that's also part of support at home. So things such as budget plans, being able to, support plans, being able to automate them, pricing and margins, of being able to analyze what's the prices of the services that I'm charging. Am I making sufficient amounts of money from that? A budgeting tool, so being able to go through with your clients or potential clients, and then run through various sort of scenarios in terms of how they could spend their allocated budgeting funds or budgeted funds. Then we look into invoicing integration, so being able to send invoicing data directly into accounting platforms such as Xero and MYOB. Automated reconciliations, we know that reconciling the balances from the payment summary that gets received from Service Australia can be challenging and also a bit of a time sink. So we'll also be investigating how maybe we could speed up that process or make it easier. Self-management, support at home does place more emphasis around self-management now. So we'll be looking at how do we support that and being able to click at a button, produce the mandatory or required reports based on support at home data, and payment management, because now there's a lot more emphasis around collecting payments directly from clients or participants. So how do you manage that process? How do you make that easier? How do you make it easier for clients to pay you? One quick plug. I'll be down in Melbourne on 29th and 30th of this month for the National Support Home Conference. We are sponsoring the coffee cart for that one, so free coffees on us on that one. So if you do want to have any sort of or you do want to find out more information around what we are doing for support at home, see it more in action, or you want to talk to me, I'll be down here along with a couple of our sales colleagues as well. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. Now I'm going to jump into questions
Yeah, well done.
yourself
Yeah, so
and
we've
have.
we've had a few questions come through. So I'll probably just start ticking through them, and you can let us know if you know the answer or not. a lot of them I don't know the answer to. So hopefully, well, you've spent a lot of time researching all this stuff, so I'm sure you will know or can go away and find out. So first thing was whether you know anything about the NATSIFAC program, so the National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander. There's some sort of program there, whether that's being changed as part of all these changes. Do you know?
I'm not aware of that program being changed, or if there are changes relating to that program under the new Aged Care Act and Support at Home program.
All right, cool. When sending the HCP and support at home statements, will it be able to be add invoices as an attachment?
They're run as separate processes right now. So
Cool.
you won't be able to attach the invoicing with the monthly statements. They get sent out separately. So your invoices will get sent out separately to the monthly statement.
Will the HCP and support at home functionality be available to all subscriptions or just the premium?
That's still to be determined at this stage.
Cool. Um, Others are asking about admin fees being added to process brokerage invoices. Will this still be possible?
That's a detail that I'm not aware of on top of my head.
Cool, that might be one you can look into. So admin fees being added to process brokerage invoices. All right, cool. Is mileage billable? This has been an ongoing question around. Do you know if mileage is billable through support at home?
If it's for care management activities, my understanding is that that's not counted as a billable item.
Okay. As NDIS registered providers, are there any other requirements needed to be able to work with HCP?
There are additional requirements needed in order to run through an assessment process with, well, let's say in the coming months with support at home. So that there are sort of additional requirements and hurdles that do need to be done if you are to provide aged care related services.
Yep, I think a Google on that'll probably help you as well. I think you can go through and make an application to my aged care or something like that to be registered. When I log on, will I have clearly marked tags for NDIS, aged care, and DVA arms of the business? I think at this stage we're probably more looking at just flagging the client as whether they're a aged care or an NDIS client, right?
Yeah, so within the system, if you jump into the clients tab, then they'll be marked off as either an NDIS participant or a support at home participant. And there would be reports to suggest if what type of classification they fall under.
Cool. Some providers who use subcontractor domestic assistance providers take a percentage of the invoice sent by the subcontractor for its general revenue. Will that still be allowed? I think that's maybe similar to the question before.
Yeah, I believe so it is.
Cool. Are price books obtained electronically from the commission? I think I saw that as part of that demo.
Oh, okay. So what will happen is that for now, we'll preload the service types, service categories, and then you can input your own pricing for this particular calendar year from July 2025 to July 2026. And then what will happen is that from July 2026, we'll upload the price books with the prices, or sorry, the service list, service categories with the max price caps that the government has put for those there for those items directly into the system.
Cool. Um, How can we manage subcontractor invoices? How could we get the invoices added to each client for the payment process?
Okay, so with at the moment, what the system will do is that you can attach the supplier invoice as a document, and then that document gets stored within the system. When you do send out the invoice though within the ShiftCare platform, that invoice at the moment will not include the uploaded supplier invoice.
Okay.
That is an aspect that we could look into in terms of strengthening that core functionality after July 1.
Yep. So subcontractors essentially not really supported in the invoicing side of things,
At the
out of the box. Yep.
yeah.
Will it be possible to create service agreement through ShiftCare?
With the existing functionality via the forms function.
Yep. So you can already create service agreements and stuff with forms. So have a look at our forms feature. That's on the premium plan. Is it your intention for ShiftCare to have this as a separate or integrated program, and what additional charges will be involved? I think we kind of answered on the additional charges. It hasn't been decided yet what plan it will be in. Obviously, we'll let everyone know as soon as possible, but before we release it. And yes, it'll be just integrated into the software, so you can do both aged care and NDIS at the same time. When will all this roll out into ShiftCare? So I think the HCP is going into beta testing pretty soon. When do you know when the beta testing is going to start, Abner?
Okay, yeah. So with the HCP beta test, so we're going to restrict that down to very, very specific list of clients, sorry, customers, and then they'll just provide us with feedback on that one, on how the experience is going. We're not going to release that to everyone. What will happen though is that that will then definitely roll into our support home functionality. We've divided that into two. So there's the first batch of functionality that we're intending to release out before June, and that's relating to price books, pricing, setting up the clients or the configuration settings that you need to do for your clients or participants, and then being able to schedule in the next round of their services post July 1. That's what we're wanting to aim to release before June. And then between June and July, that's when we'll do the remaining tranche of functionality that we need to support home around statement generation, around claiming, around tracking the care management
Okay.
hours, so forth.
And so if we've got any clients that want to do HCP, when would that be planned to be released to the masses?
Okay, so we've made a call not to support clients that want to use this for HCP right
Right.
now,
So it's going to
partly
be support at
because
home. Yep.
yeah, we're aiming for support home because the window is once the HCP functionality that we were planning on releasing initially, we've come to the conclusion that it's too short now. Um, from middle of May up to June, that window is quite short. So rather, that effort is better spent on helping customers with the support home transition.
Yep. So
Their
we just
time,
want to make sure that we get support at home nailed before the 1st of
yeah,
July. Yep.
yeah. And
Okay.
for customers to also concentrate on transitioning their own systems into support at home.
Yep. All right. Is there an initial payment made to us for registering a new client as with NDIS? And if so, how is it entered? I don't think it works that way, right? I think you have a funding pool and then you
Yeah,
send off.
so
Yeah.
it's all done in arrears. So you have to perform the services first before you can claim against the government for the subsidies.
I saw a family portal on the left of one view. Will clients be able to see their budget and statement online? Someone's noticed the old family portal. So that is another feature that we've been working on in ShiftCare. Um, that's a good question. Have we looked into the family portal side of things for support at home?
Not in this current tranche of development. We've been focusing a lot on the core functionality, and then post July 1, that could be an area that we may consider looking at.
I'd say we definitely will look at that because Family Portal's pretty exciting. So we're pretty geared up for Family Portal. Um, all right, so we've got one more question. It's a bit more broad, but it's the last question, so I might be able to quickly go through this. Last minute appointments, commitments occur. Could the unavailability be accessible by staff until 24 hours beforehand? Um, Unavailability, how long it's available is determined by a setting in your accounts and settings area. So you can make it 24 hours. My general advice, though, is that unavailability shouldn't be available before um, 21 days or 14 days before a shift because it really isn't supposed to be a oh, I can't do this shift tomorrow. It's supposed to be a, oh, I've got holidays planned in a month and I don't want to be put onto shifts. If they're already booked in for a shift and they can't make it last minute, they should probably tell your admin staff so that they can reassign it to someone else. Is it possible for carers to be notified when a shift is deleted, similar to the current option to notify a carer if a shift is cancelled? I don't think so. It's not possible. I mean, look, generally our advice would be that you shouldn't be deleting shifts anyway. The only time I ever say you should delete a shift is if you created it right then and you didn't mean to create it and you need to delete it. Otherwise, canceling it would be the correct procedure. Um, how can WHH arrange for more than one operator to be able to work on a scheduler? Um, I'm not really sure what that means. You can have more than one operator working on the scheduler at once. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Maybe us support that one as well. Um, do you have an online wound assessment treatment chart available? So I mean, we have our forms. I don't think there's a specific form for wound assessment treatment, but you can build your own forms and put your own questions in there. So have a look at our forms feature and see if that does what you need it to do. But yeah, you could build your own form for wound assessments and treatment charts. We don't really, by the way, with charts and stuff like that, the forms are designed for one. So you go, you're a staff member, you jump into a form, you fill it out and you submit it. Then you can't like fill out a little bit, then come back later and fill it out more. It's not that we don't really support charts per se at the moment. It is something, medication charts is something that we are it is on our roadmap to look at into the future, but no firm date on that yet. Cool. Well, I think that's all the questions that are in the Q&A. Abner, thank you so much, mate. Thanks for all the hard work that you've put into support at home. It's pretty exciting, and yeah, I think you're doing a great job. So we're all pretty excited to look at that coming out.
Cool. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, very excited
No
to
worries.
release this very soon.
Thank you. See you, everybody.
Cool. Thank
Bye.
you.